In the summer of 1984, a father and his young daughter set out on what was supposed to be a simple weekend road trip. His name was Daniel Whitaker. He was 37 years old, an office clerk known among friends and neighbors as reliable, soft-spoken, and deeply devoted to his daughter, Emily. She was just 8 years old at the time, bright-eyed, full of energy, and always excited whenever she got to spend time with her dad. That July morning, Daniel promised Emily they'd drive down to the coast. They would visit Galveston, walk along the beach, eat ice cream by the pier, and spend a night in a little seaside motel. It wasn't supposed to be anything extraordinary. Just a father and daughter enjoying summer together. But what started as a cheerful trip turned into one of the region's longest and most haunting mysteries. Because Daniel and Emily never came home. Neighbors remembered the last sight of them. Daniel was outside his Dallas apartment, loading bags into the trunk of his pride and joy, a shiny, red Cadillac Eldorado. Emily clutched her favorite stuffed dolphin as she climbed into the passenger seat. She waved to the neighbors, smiling. And then the car rolled away. That was the last time anyone saw them alive. When Sunday evening passed without a single call, Emily's mother grew uneasy. By Monday morning, her worry had turned to dread. She knew Daniel wouldn't just vanish. He wouldn't miss work, wouldn't abandon responsibilities, and above all, he would never disappear with Emily. She reported them missing, sparking a police investigation that quickly expanded across Texas. Detectives searched highways, motels, gas stations, diners. They showed photos of Daniel and Emily. They asked about a red Cadillac, easy to spot even in a crowded parking lot. But while people thought they might have seen something, maybe a red car on Interstate 45, maybe a man with a little girl at a rest stop, nothing concrete ever turned up. Weeks passed. Then months. And the trail went cold. Speculation filled the silence. Some whispered that Daniel had enemies, that maybe his work life wasn't as ordinary as it seemed. Others suggested a random crime of opportunity, perhaps a carjacking gone wrong, perhaps an accident on some remote back road where nobody ever found the wreck. Darker theories claimed Daniel had harmed his daughter himself before taking his own life. But for those who truly knew him, that last theory never made sense. Daniel lived for his daughter. She was his world. By the end of 1984, the case had stalled. The Cadillac was gone. The father and daughter were gone. And all that remained was a question with no answer: what happened on that road trip? For 16 long years, that question hung in the air. And then, in the year 2000, a shocking discovery gave investigators their first real lead. It began at a junkyard outside Houston. The facility was clearing out old wrecks, compacted cars stacked like forgotten tombstones. A worker noticed something unusual: a crushed, rusted shell of a red Cadillac that didn't quite match the paperwork. The VIN number didn't line up with any of the cars they were supposed to have. Curious, he checked it against police databases. What he found was chilling. The number belonged to Daniel Whitaker's missing car. The very same Cadillac that had vanished with him and his daughter 16 years earlier. The vehicle was barely recognizable. Its frame was mangled, the metal twisted as if it had been violently crushed long before it ever reached the junkyard. Some panels still carried the original cherry red paint. And inside, under layers of dust and debris, investigators found remnants, small items that once belonged to a family. A child's hair ribbon. A broken watch. Fragments of clothing. Forensic teams combed through every inch. But there were no bodies. No bones. Nothing to prove what had happened to Daniel or Emily. The Cadillac had surfaced, but the people inside it had not. The discovery reignited the case. Reporters swarmed. Families demanded answers. How had the car ended up in that junkyard without being noticed? Who had delivered it there? And most importantly, what had happened between the moment Daniel and Emily drove away in 1984 and the moment their car was dumped, crushed, and forgotten? Theories multiplied once again. Some believed it was a tragic accident covered up by someone who feared responsibility. Others argued it was deliberate, a crime carefully hidden by staging the Cadillac's destruction. Without the bodies, the case remained circumstantial. But the eerie truth was undeniable. For 16 years, the missing Cadillac had been sitting in plain sight, buried in the mountains of scrap metal, holding its silent secrets. For Emily's mother, Margaret, the discovery brought little comfort. She had spent years imagining every possible fate for her daughter. The car's appearance reopened old wounds. Was Emily alive when the car disappeared? Had someone taken her away before the Cadillac was destroyed? Had Daniel been a victim as well, or had he been involved in something darker than anyone imagined? The answers never came. Even as the case remained open, it eventually slipped once more into obscurity. Detectives retired. Files grew dusty. What had started as a hopeful weekend getaway had ended as a mystery frozen in time. And so today, the story of Daniel and Emily Whitaker lingers like a shadow. A father and daughter who set out on a summer road trip in 1984. A bright red Cadillac that vanished into thin air. And a junkyard discovery that reopened old questions without delivering resolution. Some mysteries fade with time. Others seem to grow heavier. The Whitaker case remains one of those, the kind of story whispered on long road trips, when headlights cut through the night, and you wonder about the people who drove this same highway years ago, never to be seen again. A father. A daughter. A missing car. And a mystery that refuses to rest.